Story 1. The Shadow at Midnight. It was a quiet night in a small suburban home. Sarah locked all the doors before bed, as always. But around midnight, she woke to a faint creak downstairs. Her heart raced. She lived alone. The sound grew louder, like footsteps on the hardwood floor. She grabbed her phone, trembling, and dialed 911. The operator's voice was calm, but Sarah's fear was not. Something was moving closer to her bedroom door. She hid under the covers, clutching a baseball bat. The doorknob rattled softly, then stopped. Silence filled the house, but it wasn't comforting. Her pulse pounded as she waited for dawn. When police arrived, they found muddy footprints leading to her room. The back door's lock was picked, clean and precise. No one was there, but a note lay on the kitchen counter. It read, "I'll be back." Sarah moved out the next week, unable to sleep there again. The police never found the intruder. She still checks her locks obsessively every night. Some doors, it seems, can't keep the darkness out. Story 2. The Unseen Watcher. Mark thought his new apartment was perfect. It was small, cozy, and in a safe neighborhood. But one night, he noticed his dog staring at the window. The curtains were closed, yet the dog growled low. He brushed it off, thinking it was just a stray cat outside. But the next night the dog did it again. Mark peeked through the blinds and saw nothing but darkness. Still, the air felt heavy, like someone was watching. On the third night, he set up a security camera outside. The footage showed a figure standing still, staring at his window. They wore a hood, their face hidden in shadow. They stood there for hours, unmoving. Mark called the police, who found no trace of the figure. The camera caught them leaving just before dawn. They left behind a single item, a photograph of Mark sleeping. It was taken through his bedroom window. He installed new locks and moved soon after. The figure never returned, but Mark still feels eyes on him. Some nights, he swears he hears breathing outside. The photo is locked away, but the fear remains. Story 3. The Open Window. Lisa lived in a rural house surrounded by woods. She always kept her windows locked, especially at night. But one stormy evening, she heard a loud thud upstairs. The wind howled, masking any other sounds. She crept upstairs, flashlight in hand, heart pounding. Her bedroom window was wide open, rain pouring in. She was certain she'd locked it before bed. Something felt wrong, like the house wasn't hers anymore. As she closed the window, she noticed wet footprints on the carpet. They led to her closet, which was slightly ajar. She froze, too scared to open it. Her phone was downstairs. She was alone. She ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and called the police. They found no one in the closet, but the footprints were real. A neighbor later admitted seeing a stranger in the woods that night. No one was ever caught. Lisa now lives in the city, far from isolated houses. She checks every window before bed every night. The memory of those footprints haunts her dreams. Some intrusions leave scars that never fade. Story 4. The Knock at 3 a.m. James was a light sleeper, so the knock woke him instantly. It was 3 a.m., and his apartment was silent. The knock came again, slow and deliberate, from the front door. He lived on the 5th floor. No one should be there. He checked the peephole, but no one was in the hallway. The knocking continued, now softer, almost teasing. He called out, asking who it was, but got no answer. Fear crept into his voice as he spoke. He grabbed a bat and opened the door, finding nothing but an empty hall. But when he turned back, his kitchen light was on. He hadn't touched it, and he lived alone. Something was inside with him. Police found no signs of a break-in, but James's keys were missing. They were later found in the building's basement, neatly placed on a table. No fingerprints, no clues, just the eerie feeling of violation. James moved out, unable to shake the sense of being watched. He still hears knocks in his dreams sometimes. The sound follows him no matter where he goes. Some doors let in more than just people. Story 5. The Basement Door. Emma's old house had a creepy basement she rarely used. The door was always locked, and she kept it that way. One night, she heard scratching from behind it. It sounded like nails on wood, slow and deliberate. She checked the lock, it was secure, but the scratching didn't stop. Her cat hissed at the door for standing on end. Emma tried to ignore it, but sleep was impossible. The noise grew louder, more insistent. By morning the scratching had stopped, but the door was slightly ajar. She was sure she'd locked it the night before. Nothing was missing, but the air felt wrong, heavy. Something had been in her home. The police found no evidence of an intruder, but Emma noticed something odd. A small carving of a symbol was etched into the basement door. No one could explain it, and it wasn't there before. Emma sold the house soon after, unable to feel safe. She still wonders what made that symbol. The scratching sound haunts her quiet moments. Some doors should never be opened. Story 6. The Voice in the Walls. Clara moved into a fixer-upper with thin walls. At night, she heard faint whispers like voices in the distance. She thought it was neighbors, but the sounds came from inside. They seemed to call her name. She checked every room, finding nothing but silence. The whispers grew clearer, forming words she couldn't understand. Her dog refused to enter the living room at night. Clara's unease turned into dread. One night, she recorded the sounds with her phone. The playback revealed a man's voice, low and menacing. It said, "I see you," over and over. Clara's blood ran cold. She lived alone. She called the police, who found a hidden crawlspace behind a wall. It was empty, but there were fresh scratches inside. Someone had been living there, watching her for weeks. No one was ever found. Clara left the house and never looked back. The whispers still echo in her mind. She checks every wall in every new home. Some voices never leave you alone. Story 7. The Figure in the Hall. Tom lived in a quiet townhouse with his wife, Lily. One night, he saw a shadow move past their bedroom door. He thought it was Lily, but she was asleep beside him. The house was locked tight, or so he thought. He grabbed a flashlight and checked the hallway, finding nothing. But the air felt heavy, like someone had just been there. He checked the locks. All were secure. Yet the unease lingered, cold and sharp. The next night, Lily woke to footsteps in the hall. She saw a figure, tall and silent, standing at the door. It vanished when she screamed, waking Tom. They searched but found no one. Police found a loose window in the guest room, slightly open. No fingerprints, no clues, just a faint smell of cigarette smoke. Neither Tom nor Lily smoked. The figure never appeared again, but the fear stayed. They moved to a new home, far away. Tom still checks the halls at night. Lily can't sleep without a light on. Some shadows never leave your mind. Story 8. The Missing Key. Rachel always hung her keys on a hook by the door. One morning her house key was gone. She searched everywhere, but it never turned up. The locks were unchanged, so she tried to forget it. That night, she heard a faint click from the front door. She checked, and it was still locked, but her dog was growling. The house felt different, like it wasn't just hers anymore. She couldn't shake the feeling. The next day she found the key on her kitchen table. She hadn't placed it there, and no one else had been home. A chill ran through her. She knew someone had used it. Police found no signs of entry, but Rachel's bedroom window was unlocked. She was certain she'd checked it the night before. They found a single muddy boot print outside. No one was ever caught. Rachel changed all her locks and moved soon after. She still checks her keys obsessively. The thought of someone having her key haunts her. Some intrusions leave no trace but fear. Story 9. The Face in the Window. Ben lived alone in a city apartment with a view. One night, he saw a face pressed against his window. He was on the 10th floor with no balcony outside. His heart stopped as the face vanished. He checked the window, finding it locked, no marks or smudges. He told himself it was a reflection, but he wasn't convinced. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The image lingered in his mind. The next night he saw it again, pale and unmoving. He called the police, who found nothing outside or on the roof. But Ben noticed scratches on the window frame. They weren't there before. Security footage showed no one entering or leaving the building. Yet Ben found a small note under his couch days later. It said, "I like watching you." His blood ran cold. Ben moved out, unable to feel safe in that apartment. He avoids high-rise buildings now. The face still haunts his nightmares. Some windows let in more than just light. Story 10. The Silent Intruder. Megan's house was her sanctuary, always locked tight. But one night, she woke to a faint rustling downstairs. She listened, frozen, as it moved closer to her room. Her dog didn't bark, he was too scared. She grabbed her phone and hid in the closet, calling 911. The rustling stopped, but she heard breathing outside the door. It was slow, deliberate, not her own. She prayed the police would hurry. When they arrived, the house was empty, but her back door was wide open. She was sure she'd locked it before bed. A single glove lay on the kitchen floor, not hers. The police found no fingerprints or signs of forced entry. The glove was old, worn, and untraceable. Megan's dog still avoids the kitchen at night. No one was caught, but the fear remains. Megan now lives with roommates, unable to be alone. She checks her locks every hour. The sound of rustling haunts her quiet moments. Some intruders leave no trace but terror. Story 11. The Light in the Attic. Jake's new house had an attic he rarely visited. One night, he saw a faint glow from the attic door. He thought it was a wiring issue, but it flickered like a flashlight. He lived alone, no one should be up there. He climbed the stairs, heart pounding, and pushed the door open. The attic was empty, but the light was gone. A cold draft hit him, though the window was closed. Something felt alive in the darkness. The next night, the glow returned, brighter this time. He recorded it on his phone, capturing a shadow moving across the light. It wasn't his shadow. He was too far away. He called the police, terrified. They found an old sleeping bag in the attic, not Jake's. Someone had been living there, entering through a loose vent. No one was caught, but the sleeping bag smelled of sweat. Jake sealed the attic and moved out soon after. He still checks ceilings for hidden entrances. The glow haunts his dreams. Some spaces in a home aren't yours. Story 12. The Door That Moved. Sophie's apartment had a heavy front door. One night she heard it creak open, then slam shut. She checked, and it was locked, but her shoes were rearranged. She lived alone and hadn't touched them. The next night it happened again, louder this time. She set up a camera, hoping to catch a prankster. The footage showed the door opening by itself, then closing. No one was visible, but the air felt wrong. She called a locksmith, who found the door's lock tampered with. Someone had a key, but Sophie hadn't given one out. Her stomach dropped, she wasn't as safe as she thought. Police found no suspects, but her neighbor saw a stranger lingering nearby. The stranger vanished before anyone could question him. Sophie's shoes were never touched again, but the fear lingered. She moved to a gated complex, but still checks her doors. The sound of a creak makes her freeze. Some doors open to more than just rooms. Story 13. The Handprint. Liam lived in a quiet suburb. His house always secure. One morning, he found a handprint on his living room window. It was on the inside, too large to be his. He lived alone, and no one had visited. He cleaned it off, thinking it was a prank, but it reappeared the next day. This time it was on his bathroom mirror, still wet. His heart raced. He hadn't heard anyone enter. He checked every lock. All were intact. He installed cameras, hoping to catch the culprit. The footage showed nothing, but the handprint appeared again, now on his fridge. It was smudged like someone had pressed hard. Liam felt watched even alone. Police found no evidence of a break-in, but Liam's dog started barking at empty rooms. A neighbor reported seeing a shadow near Liam's house at night. No one was ever caught. Liam sold the house and moved far away. He still checks his mirrors for handprints. The feeling of being watched never leaves. Some marks linger longer than they should. Story 14. The Whisper at the Door. Anna locked her doors every night, a habit from childhood. But one night, she heard a whisper through her front door. It was faint, saying, "Let me in." She froze, alone in her small apartment. She checked the peephole. Nothing but an empty hallway. The whisper came again, clearer, almost pleading. Her cat hissed, staring at the door. Anna's hands shook as she gripped her phone. She called the police, staying silent as the whisper continued. When they arrived, the hallway was empty, but her welcome mat was flipped upside down. She hadn't touched it, and it wasn't windy. The police found no signs of tampering, but Anna noticed scratches on the doorframe. They were fresh, like someone had tried to pry it open. No suspect was ever found. Anna now lives with her sister, unable to be alone. She avoids doors at night, fearing the whisper. Some voices stay with you forever. Some doors should never be answered. Story 15. The Cold Spot. Greg's house was old, with creaky floors and drafty windows. One night, he felt a cold spot in his living room. It was unnatural, like standing in a freezer. He lived alone and the heat was on. He ignored it, thinking it was a draft, but it followed him to his bedroom. The cold grew sharper, almost biting his skin. His dog whimpered, refusing to enter the room. Greg's unease turned to fear. The next night, he heard a low hum from the cold spot. He recorded it, and the playback revealed faint footsteps. They weren't his. He'd been alone. His heart pounded as he called the police. They found a hidden trapdoor under the living room rug. It led to a crawlspace, empty but recently disturbed. Dust showed fresh footprints, not Greg's. No one was caught. Greg moved out, unable to stay in that house. He still feels cold spots in new places. The hum echoes in his nightmares. Some houses hold secrets too dark to keep. Story 16. The Locked Room. Tara's house had a room she never used, always locked. One night, she heard a thud from inside it. She checked the door, it was still locked, key in her drawer. Her pulse raced, she was alone. She listened, hearing faint shuffling inside the room. She called a friend, too scared to check alone. The noises stopped, but the air felt heavy, wrong. Tara gripped the key, debating what to do. The next night the door was unlocked, slightly open. She was certain she hadn't touched it. Inside, a chair was moved, and a window was open. Tara's fear spiked. She lived on the second floor. Police found no signs of entry, but the window's lock was broken. A neighbor saw a figure climbing down a drainpipe that night. No one was caught, but Tara's sense of safety was gone. She sold the house and moved to a new city. She avoids unused rooms now. The sound of a thud haunts her. Some locks can't keep the danger out. Story 17. The Phone Call. Mike was home alone when his landline rang at 2 a.m. The caller ID showed his own number. Impossible. He answered, hearing only static and faint breathing. He hung up, heart racing, and unplugged the phone. The next night it rang again, still unplugged. He didn't answer, but a voicemail appeared. It was his voice whispering, "I'm inside." Mike lived alone and hadn't recorded it. He checked every room, finding nothing but locked doors. But his back door's deadbolt was undone. He was sure he'd locked it before bed. Panic set in as he called the police. They found no one, but his phone line was tampered with outside. Someone had tapped into it, leaving no trace. A neighbor saw a stranger nearby that night. No one was ever caught. Mike disconnected his landline and moved out. He avoids late-night calls now. The sound of static haunts him. Some voices come from too close to home. Story 18. The Moved Picture. Elena hung a family photo above her fireplace. One morning it was on the floor, glass cracked. She thought it fell, but the nail was still in the wall. She lived alone. No one could have touched it. The next day it was back on the wall, but upside down. She hadn't touched it, and her doors were locked. Her dog barked at the fireplace constantly. Elena's stomach churned with dread. She set up a camera, hoping to catch an explanation. The footage showed the picture moving on its own, tilting slowly. No one was visible, but a shadow flickered briefly. She called the police, terrified. They found no signs of a break-in, but her attic hatch was open. Footprints in the dust suggested someone had been up there. No one was caught, and the photo was never touched again. Elena burned the picture and moved out. She avoids hanging photos now. The flicker of that shadow lingers in her mind. Some homes hold secrets in their walls. Story 19: The Laugh Outside. Chris lived in a rural cabin, miles from neighbors. One night, he heard a low laugh outside his window. It was sharp, unnatural, and too close. He checked. His doors were locked, blinds down. The laugh came again, circling the house, never stopping. He grabbed a flashlight, but saw nothing in the darkness. His dog hid under the bed, whimpering. Chris's fear grew with every sound. He called the police, staying on the line as the laugh continued. When they arrived, it stopped, but they found fresh footprints in the snow. They led to the woods, then vanished. No one was found. The next night, Chris found a smiley face drawn in the frost on his window. It was on the inside, though he hadn't touched it. He packed his bags that day. The laugh was never explained. Chris now lives in the city, far from isolation. He avoids cabins and dark windows. The sound of laughter chills his blood. Some sounds follow you forever. Story 20: The Key in the Lock. Nina always locked her apartment door before bed. One night she heard a key turn in the lock. She froze. She hadn't given anyone a spare key. The door creaked open, then closed softly. She hid in her closet, clutching her phone, and called 911. Footsteps moved through her living room, slow and deliberate. They stopped outside her closet door. Nina held her breath, trembling. The police arrived, finding no one, but her spare key was on the counter. She was certain it had been in her drawer. A window was slightly open, though she'd locked it. Something felt wrong. They found no fingerprints, but a neighbor saw a stranger with a keyring nearby. No one was caught, and the key was untraceable. Nina's sense of safety was shattered. She moved to a new apartment with double locks. She still checks her keys every night. The sound of a turning lock haunts her. Some intrusions leave you forever changed.